We are covering cerebrospinal fluid, or CSF, and talking about the circulation through the brain and spinal cord. My name is Brad. I've been teaching anatomy for almost 24 years now, and I try to simplify these topics, especially when we cover the nervous system. When we talk about cerebrospinal fluid, the fluid is floating within not only the brain, referring to the cerebrum, and spinal, cerebrospinal fluid, through the spinal cord. Remember, the brain and spinal cord is wrapped as all one big piece within our meninges, these protective layers of the brain and spinal cord. This fluid, CSF, is very similar to plasma, or the water of our blood. The chemical concentration is a little bit different, but we continuously produce this all day long. We produce about 500 milliliters of this a day, and it's recycling continuously. That amount we regenerate up to 2 to 3 times per day because we're constantly circulating the fluid. Remember, our neurons and our nervous tissue are highly metabolic. In other words, they create a lot of activity, and when you have a lot of activity, you have a lot of waste. So you have to get rid of that waste. So one of its circulation properties is removing all the fluid that's been used, and we generate a lot of waste, so we have to circulate it out, and we actually put it back into the bloodstream. So we'll talk about that flow. A couple other things the cerebrospinal fluid does is, one, that mechanical protection, the physical protection. When I hit my head, it creates that balance because I'm floating in water. And that water is the CSF. If I float it, I also reduce the weight. My brain can weigh about 3 pounds. But when I float it in CSF, it's down to about 0.1 pound. So it dramatically lowers it to about 50 grams. So I use that to lighten the load, soften the impact when I hit my head, and then I use it as a way to circulate and get rid of waste, bring in the nutrients, have the right chemical concentrations and optimal ionic concentrations for the tissue to properly function. How do we create this? If you remember, when we talked about some of our neuroglia, our glial cells, one of the ones we discussed was ependymal cells. Ependymal cells is a type of supporting cell that assists with the production and circulation of cerebrospinal fluid. So when we talk about ependymal cells, we put it together what's called a choroid plexus. And a choroid plexus is what we use to generate with ependymal cells that CSF. And if you note, I put here that we see the choroid plexus. Plexus means braid. Lateral, third, and fourth ventricles. We are looking at the ventricular model that we see within the brain and spinal cord, but specifically the brain. What I mean is there's spaces in the brain. So when I put the two hemispheres together, I get these small little spaces, and to me it kind of looks like a bird, and the bird's going like this with its wings up, and we're describing spaces in the brain. When I teach this to my students, I tell them you're learning nothing. You're learning spaces. Just like when you look inside of a room, you cannot see the room, but I can see the walls of the room, and the walls help me to see that space. Similarly, the walls of the brain allow me to see this space. So we're describing first the actual spaces that the goldish orange color in here. This is ventricle systems, the ventricular model allow for cerebrospinal fluid to flow. There's 2 lateral ventricles, and we can break them down different segments, but because we're looking at a lateral side, I just call these lateral ventricles. To me, it's like the bird's wings. When I get into where the bird's head is, and this is where you'd start to see the area of the thalamus and the hypothalamus, but that space around that eye is the third ventricle. So I have 2 laterals and then a third. So we call it the third ventricle. 2 lateral ventricles, would be another one on the other side, and a third ventricle. And then I see a dot here, and that dot is the opposite we're looking at. That's actually called an interthamalic adhesion, but this is an actual piece that we see at the thalamus. So that space, the bird's head, is the third ventricle. In order to connect the lateral to the third, in between those ventricles is a hole. Remember foramens from doing bony landmarks? Foramens are holes. Interventricular foramen is just that tiny little piece that connects me to the third. As I come down from the third, I go down the neck of the bird, and that's called the cerebral aqueduct or aqueduct of the midbrain. So I go down this canal here, and then finally I reach the fourth ventricle. So what we see is I'll have this choroid plexus in conjunction with ependymal cells making cerebrospinal fluid, and then it's flowing through these spaces because our first goal is to nourish the brain, so we refer to it as cerebrospinal fluid. Now, if I look at this next picture, what I'm trying to show you is the actual flow that I describe when I teach how do we get the flow of cerebrospinal fluid. Remember, we said we produce about 500 mils of this a day. Whatever we produce, we have to get rid of. How do we get rid of? We put it back into the cardiovascular system, into the venous blood supply. So as I create an actual flow here, what I'm saying is that the choroid plexus we see predominant in the lateral, third, and fourth ventricles. So I see choroid plexus. This is in the area of my lateral ventricle, my third ventricle, and here's my fourth ventricle. So if I go back and I take that picture that we were just looking at, in your mind, you can see where I have those structures. So if I put that back, that's what we're visualizing, those spaces inside that area. So if I go back to it and look at this picture, we start by flowing from the choroid plexus, lateral ventricles. So I have this flow into my third. It'll go through our interventricular foramen that gets me to the third, down the cerebral aqueduct or aqueduct of midbrain, and then it connects me through an opening called the lateral aperture, but then gets me into the fourth ventricle. Once I'm in the fourth ventricle, I get to the point to where I can nourish all around the actual brain. And the way I do that is through this space, and you can see where all these arrows are going. This is all the subarachnoid space. When we look at the meninges of the brain, I have dura mater, I have arachnoid mater, and I have pia mater. And so when I look at those meninges or layers, deep to the arachnoid is a space called subarachnoid space. And within that space, I have the flow of CSF. And so what it's doing is it's creating that circulation and enveloping around the brain. So we go inside the brain with all the ventricles that we just described towards the outside subarachnoid space. This is just the brain. I got to get down to the spinal cord. So I do have this listed around the spinal cord, and through the spinal cord we go through the central canal. So the central canal, I have very limited flow of CSF here, but it will go down here, and then it'll envelop and wrap around the central canal and the spinal cord by way of the subarachnoid space, because that whole continuous meninges continues with the brain spinal cord. So once I get to the point where I wrap around both the brain and spinal cord, I got to get rid of it. And the way I do it is if you follow up here, and it's creating this flow, and I'm trying to get into what's called the superior sagittal sinus. And when we look inside these dural matter folds, which is called the falx cerebri, within them I have these blood vessels. One of them is called the superior sagittal sinus. So I'm trying to get into these sinuses, and this sinus is my venous blood flow. The way I do that are these tiny little projections called arachnoid granulations, also known as arachnoid villi. So these little extensions are coming off the arachnoid layer, and then they're pushing into the venous blood supply. Because remember I said we produce about 500 milliliters. Whatever we produce, we have to get rid of. Otherwise, we end up what's called hydrocephalus, or water of the encephalons, water of the brain. We see this with infants more, and their brains will expand because they have those fontanelles, the softer tissues that allows the brain to expand. As I describe this, what I'm showing is a flow, but keep in mind it's just flooding through. But it helps to give some type of orderly flow to understand the structures as it's going through all of my ventricles to nourish the inside of the brain. And then as I go around it through my subarachnoid space, around the spinal cord, but then remember I have to get rid of it, and I get rid of it through my venous blood flow. This sinus will end up going all the way down back into my veins, ending at my brachiocephalix, my superior vena cava, and getting into my right atrium. So I recreate it. Remember, I said cerebrospinal fluid is very similar to the plasma of the blood or water of the blood. So it makes sense that we can combine the systems as a way to get rid of any of the flow. So this is cerebrospinal fluid, its purpose, how we circulate it, and the general flow in which it occurs.